This video is to help you get familiar with the instructions for how to take notes on the readings for Unit 2. So to find this, find the instructions, you should be on our main, this is our main Sakai page. Click on weekly content here, click on Unit 2. And here you can see I've got two links here, instructions for taking notes on articles, and then the article notes template. So I'm going to open here the instructions for taking notes and review this. So first of all, your summary should be about one page, one single-spaced page. Maybe it goes onto the second page a little bit. It definitely should not be more than 2 pages. So again, we're aiming to really pull out the main information here and not just copy tons and tons of quotes from the article or something like that. You should start at the top of the page here with your full ASA citation. I've actually typed this out for you on Sakai for each reading, so you can copy that, but this is the goal here is to help you familiarize yourself with those the ASA citations. The second thing you should write is a take-home point, and this is something you should come back and do at the end once you've already read the whole article and filled out the rest of the notes page. But really, you want this to be the thing that you remember about the article. What was the most significant finding? This should not be anything like, this article was interesting. That's not going to help you. But like, what were their really important findings in terms of what they set out to do? The next section of the article that you read is the introduction here. It doesn't always have a subtitle, but it is the first part that you read. This should introduce you to the topic and what the author or authors are going to do in the article. You should always keep a lookout for the phrases our purpose here is, or our goal is, or our research questions are, and really all you should take notes on here is the goal or purpose of their research. You might also include their research question or questions or hypotheses, but really this should be a really short, in terms of your notes, it should be really short. The next section is usually called a literature review or a theoretical framework, and this is basically where they've reviewed the stuff that everyone else has studied. This is not where you should take your notes on. You should read it, you should summarize it, but this is where the researcher is telling you everything else that's been studied that relates to this topic and where their research fits in. This may involve expanding on previous studies, testing theories, using new data, or identifying a gap in the literature. Your notes here should be really minimal because this is not where you want to focus. This is not the focus of the article. This is just all the background information. So you might pull out a few things like the main findings on this topic have been A, B, and C, and this study fits in because X, Y, Z. All right, the next section is your data and methods, and this is where the author tells you what kind of study they did and what methods they used. So really don't worry about an in-depth understanding of the method, of the statistics, that type of stuff. But you should really, at least at minimal, state the method, like did they do in-depth interviews, did they conduct surveys, who was included in the sample, and their method of analysis. That'll give you at least some comparison across your different articles that you read. The next thing that I want you to note, and it might not fall exactly in this place in the article, but I want you to have in your notes how they measured religiosity. So in Unit 1, we talked about, we read about all the different ways that religiosity can be measured. And so we really want to come out of this unit recognizing different ways that religiosity was measured in all of these articles and see how it is done in academic research. And so this is going to look different for each article. You should make sure to note, how they talk about measuring religiosity. And then the finding section is really where you want to focus your notes. This is where you're going to have the most amount of notes in your on your note page. So the finding section is a detailed description of their data analysis. They might have multiple findings. There's usually going to be several main findings, maybe some sub-findings. So you want to know what they talked about. Is it context specific? Is this generalizable information? They might be finding support or not for their hypotheses. You should list their significant findings, but you should also keep in mind if they did complicated statistical analyses, it might be it might just be pages and pages of bullet points of they found this, they found this, they found this. And in that case, you're going to want to summarize their overall findings. So usually that's at the end of the findings section or the beginning of the conclusion section. And then the final section here, conclusion, this is where the author tells you the main contributions of their study, why you should care about it, why it's important, what their limitations were, and what should be done in the future. They might have some policy recommendations. And so you can usually take pretty minimal notes here. Maybe you say, you restate what the main contributions of the study was and any notable limitations here. And so I've provided on Sakai a template here. You can change the font. You can, all you need to do is you need to make sure that your notes do not go beyond 2 pages, and really try to make it 1 page if you can. And you should have notes on each one of these points here. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.